All right, let's kick it. I'm Patrick Moore with PopCultureKick.com. I'm here today with Aaron, Anya, and Kyle Valley. You might remember them from
Hello.
my interview with them on their big project ZombieCon Volume 1. And now they're back to talk about their newest project, Autonomous, which is a micro horror shot vertically exclusively for the Screamify app. So, Aaron and Kyle, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Patrick, for having us. Awesome to be back.
Yeah, 100%.
So is this y'all's first foray into like non-traditional TV?
Yes and no. When we started, right, we were doing a bunch of short films. Then we went to web series. Then we got really experimental with our own like kind of streaming service back circa 2000 like 15, 16, and we had like some crazy shows and stuff that really broke the mold, especially with like audience and like engagement, and then being able to vote on like who's going to be in the cast and stuff like that. But when it comes to like vertical content, this was our first time ever being approached with it, thinking about doing it, and kind of tackling it. So, in a way, we were learning while also kind of trying to balance it with everything we've done previously.
Yeah,
Yeah, you learn more as you go along.
Oh yeah,
it's the best way.
Yeah,
yeah.
Trial by fire.
Every
that's cool.
project, it's like you hope to learn at least a couple things, which is painful in the process because you go into it being like, yeah, I know how to do this, and you're like, damn, there are things I didn't know, but at the same time, now I'll know them for next time.
Yeah, I remember last time making ZombieCon, you said you didn't realize how much signing is involved,
Oh yeah, no, the
how much
paperwork
legal
and the
stuff.
litigious aspect is
Yeah,
insane.
Yeah, to do it properly, especially as a tiny production with a tiny crew, it's
Hmm.
an insane amount of paperwork.
yeah,
Yeah,
but indie horror has that genuine spirit about it. I can see why it has so many fans. But this one really stuck with me. This autonomous, the creepy hooded guy with the weird claws and the faceless mask. Can you tell me you did the outfits, right?
yeah. So I designed the basically wardrobe. Erin had a big hand to do with Amy's wardrobe because we actually had picked that out kind of together. But there were specific elements that I wanted both the characters to have because it is a vertical, right? I wanted the eye to be drawn vertically. So like long necklaces, earrings that were longer as opposed to short and fat, things that just seem to accentuate the vertical aspect ratio of the work. In regards to the monster, I chose, I put together basically the entire. I did put together the entire thing. We had help obviously with the hands. Those were really high end prosthetic gloves, not latex. They were silicone gloves, I believe, from either CFX masks or Immortal masks. I'll have to figure out which one I ordered from eventually. But that was a process and a half just sourcing those because they don't keep these things on the shelf. They're usually made to order. So it's like, 4 to 8 weeks we can get it to you, and I'm like, well, that's not going to work for us because we're shooting in 2 weeks. So what do you have? And I'm like going through all these hands, and I'm like, okay, I think that these sleeves can work. We'll have to modify them. Paint. I'll have to paint them a little bit and do some other things, and maybe add acrylic tips to the fingernails. And I decided to call them on a whim, and I was like, let me just check before because they're also expensive, and of course they were in the budget, but it's a big part of the budget. So I wanted to give them a call and just be like, hey, what's the deal with this? What kind of options can you offer me? And the sales representative was like so amazing. She would go through this whole thing, and finally I'm like, yeah, I'm really looking for this specific type of hand. And she's like, hold on. And she runs to the back. I'm presuming she runs to the back, and she comes back on the phone, and she sends me a photo from like a box, and it's like the hands that you see in Autonomous, and they're perfect. And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. That right there. She's like, well, we actually haven't started selling these yet. We plan to sell them in the future. Would you like them? And I'm like, so I'm the only one in the country with these things when we're going to be filming this? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, yes, I want them. And that's a
That's
cool story. So I'll tell that on all the
Yeah,
podcasts.
it was meant to be.
one of one.
Truly. And then
Yeah.
with the mask itself, that was actually just a cheaper mask that we got off of, I think it was Amazon. And we actually have a neighbor here in Atlanta who's a fantastic artist. And I was kind of underwater, and she came over and she saw this thing sitting on the mannequin head. And she's like, "Are you going to paint that up or anything?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I have to add like veiny textures to it and give it, because it looked like something you bought off Amazon. I had to really give it some love to make it look high end and make it fit with the character and make it fit with the skin tone of the hands and everything." And she was like, "Do you mind if I take a crack at it?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "Absolutely. I would love for that to happen." So she comes back like 3 days later with this mask being like perfectly painted. It had, subdermal veins painted in through like transparent layers of skin, and it matched the glove hands perfectly. And I'm like, oh my God, this is fantastic. And then the last trick was when we came to VFX for the eyes, that was like obviously layering a ton of different effects to create like a void. Basically,
That
it's
was
supposed
the
to be like an
creepiest
empty
part.
void. Yeah,
The that was the creepiest part for me. The
that's so awesome.
That's why I
Yeah,
said
I
it stuck with me. Just to look at something and there's a void where the eye should be. That's like sleep paralysis type stuff.
Ugh.
yeah, right. Dude, that's so awesome. I'm so happy to hear you say that because I struggled with those eyes. It probably took me a whole day just to figure out exactly what I wanted them to look like. Because at first I started just with empty eye sockets, like humanoid eye sockets. And I was like, well, that's not really, it's kind of very normal. Like anyone can do like empty eye sockets. It looks like I just keyed out the eyes and there's just a black hole there. And then I started getting really deep into the woods on it, and it like ended up becoming like this. I don't want to. Well, yeah, it ended up being what it was, but it was like this like gaping like I have a perfect word to describe it, but I'm not going to use it. But if you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But let's just say that I felt like it had a certain aliens quality where it was, referencing a part of the body that we usually don't talk about, in polite conversation. And it gave it that little extra bit of just like creepiness that just felt right. And then underneath it, there was just layers of different movements and it's supposed to be like emptiness to the universe and stuff. So anyway, yeah, the
Yeah.
eyes were a ton of fun.
Yeah, I think you really nailed it. But
Thank you.
so how was filming in Atlanta?
Filming Atlanta is great. Honestly, the toughest part was the fact that we had crazy weather, and it was very important that we were going to get a real Waymo, which the Gomos are kind of based off of, to get some shots in. And because there was a winter storm on the days that we were supposed to be getting this shot, we assumed that Google had pulled the Waymos from the city because there were already very few. It was just being introduced to Atlanta. And on these nights that we were just burning production time, already all of us, kitted up, ready to go, we were calling different, all of us on our Uber apps, and we could not find a Waymo anywhere in the city. Kyle was doing research. I was doing research. We were in deep in Reddit threads, what corner, what blocks. They were nowhere to be found. So Atlanta's fantastic to shoot in. Apparently, though, not during a winter storm for
Yeah.
many reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, the winter storm was brutal. But apart from that, it was fantastic. The folks over at like where you pull the permits for the city of Atlanta, they've got a whole department, and they were like so cool, and they helped us out so much, especially during that winter storm. I called them and I was like, "Hey guys, I've got scheduled days, but we need to push these days now because we can't shoot. Like we can't have people driving through this kind of crazy weather." And I know that there's supposed to be a specific time requirement for submitting these permits, but like we've got everyone together, and they were like, "It's all good. We got you. You're on the schedule," and totally had our back throughout the entire filming process. And even when we filmed out in Coweta County, which is like 2 hours away, that was that road location, which is actually called like the Walking Dead Road. So it's like
Mhm.
so they shot like a ton of the Walking Dead on that road. Whenever you see them like walking down a 2-lane road with two yellow lines in the middle, that's
It's that
basically
road.
that road.
Yeah.
Whether it's got like a million cars on it or they're being chased by zombies or whatever, it's just the perfect road because there's no ambient light. There are no buildings that border that road. It kind of runs between two highways. So it's like in the middle of the forest, but it's a built up appropriate road, which is super hard to find apparently. I didn't realize how hard it would be to find. But the folks over there were truly fantastic and extremely helpful in basically working with us to get our kind of small budgeted project together for that location. And yeah, I just couldn't be more thankful to them.
Well, that's
I'd be
cool.
remiss if I didn't mention that the winter storm also had a huge effect on me running through the woods. We shot that in two different locations. Kind of entering and exiting the woods was over in Coeity County, over by that Walking Dead road. But then the majority, especially inserts of me running barefoot and everything, was in a different location in Atlanta, and that was smack dab in the middle of the cold weather. It was low, low 30s. It had been misting all day, so it was absolutely freezing. The positive side of this, though, the actor side of me was even at the time very happy because it made it easy to
Yeah,
seem
you use
panicked and
that frustration.
frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have to do much acting in a lot
Yeah.
of that.
Well, that's good. It's another way the production was blessed. It's,
Yes.
it's relatable. Y'all have to deal with crazy weather because here in Houston, I mean, this last week's been okay, but it rained for 3 weeks straight. And I don't know if y'all remember Hurricane Harvey pounding us in about 9 years ago, but
Yeah.
it's not it's not the heaviest rain. It's just that it's constant, and Houston's still not built to withstand floods. So, Houston's trying to turn into the next Atlanta, and I can't imagine that affecting productions and stuff.
That'd be wild for
Yeah,
sure.
truly. Yeah, I remember that flood was terrible, that hurricane.
Yeah.
That was crazy to see on the news. And I just heard about the earthquake that happened in
And
California.
yeah, and there was
Yeah.
one in Venezuela. It was actually two earthquakes. It was like a 7.1 and then
Hmm.
a 7.5. And I saw all these videos on Twitter of people like at the airport. Ugh, I can't.
And there was actually another huge one over by Japan. It all happened like around, I guess it's like that ring of fire where
Yeah.
that fault line is or whatever. But like, it was one up in California, the ones in Venezuela, and there was one over by Japan. And they were all like very severe earthquakes. Like you were saying,
Mm.
7.1. I think one was 5.4, and the other was a 6 or a 7, the one over by Japan, which is just crazy for all three of those things to happen at one time, more or less, within
Yeah.
a very significantly close time frame.
The only time I've ever experienced one was, I mean, I'm from Houston, but I lived in Oklahoma for about 2 years, and they're starting to get some because of fracking. They're starting to get like two pointers.
Oh,
Mm.
So I would just be in my room playing Uncharted, and I'd start feeling my bed start to wobble. And I mean, that's the extent of it. I haven't felt anything greater than that, but I've been thinking about moving to LA, and I just have to get used to earthquakes.
Oh
dude,
God.
LA is we lived through a couple of and I they weren't like bad like the Riverside quake that happened a number of years ago that actually caused a ton of damage, but not being from an earthquake area like New Jersey doesn't have tornadoes. We barely have hurricanes. We had like one hurricane my entire life that was like randomly came up the coast, and it really wasn't that bad when it got to us. And you know, we definitely don't have earthquakes. And so going out to California, and we lived on the third floor or fourth floor of an apartment building. And when it shook, the whole building
Hmm.
just starts swaying. And like I remember one time I got up, I had to grab all my hard drives because like they're all moving and shaking, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna lose what I was just working on, and I wasn't even thinking about like, oh, is the roof gonna fall on me or something,
The hard
and
drives, protect the hard
yeah,
drives.
Yeah.
yeah, but it's wild, man, and it's terrifying. But I think as long as it's not a really bad one, luckily all of those like coding, all the legislation and politicking with the codes, they've built the buildings to be pretty safe.
Yeah.
So
The
but
first
it is
couple ones,
startling,
the
yeah.
first couple ones you experience as an outsider, you almost feel at very first like your brain is like short circuiting or you're going crazy and seeing things because it's just the slightest sway, especially if
Yeah.
you wake up and it's in the middle of the night. It's odd.
Yeah,
Ugh.
you're like, did I drink too much? What's going on?
Did I add to this? Did I cause this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's shot in vertical format and the Screamify app. Do you want to tell me more about that? Are you gonna make any more projects for the app?
So, Screamify, first off, is amazing to work with. And we're lucky that they found us because they found ZombieCon and an interview with us through a guy who they now, the movie Ginger, has his own podcast with Screamify called The Fear Feed. And they're an independent platform that are championing independent horror. So it kind of is like a match made in heaven with us and Big Squid. But yeah, they approached us, and after acquiring ZombieCon for streaming, we were talking with the founder, Sean Overbeek, who also wrote Autonomous. And in the call, which was going great, it happened to come up that he had a script. He was going to be funding some verticals, and literally by the end of the call, we had it in our inbox. We were excited, but already intrigued about the premise and saying, "We this is something we would like to do and we'd like to produce for you."
Hmm.
And I would say within a couple of days, we were hitting the ground running,
Yeah.
full on pre-production.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic, and I would absolutely love to work with them again. They were such a supportive. It reminded me of like the Big Squid family unit, where it's like it's a small team over there, and they are truly supporting independent artists in a way that I've not experienced with people outside of our own kind of umbrella before.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave us this project. We had a few conversations about the script, about the things that they like they really wanted to see, and it was like set it and forget it. They gave us total creative autonomy. They gave me creative autonomy as the director to kind of like, do the creature design the way I wanted to do the creature.
Autonomous autonomy.
Yeah, totally.
It
Yeah, it was so
goes with the
freeing as an
title.
artist to be able to kind of take it and run. And yeah, the trust factor was huge, and it meant so much to us as well to be trusted
Yeah.
with the budget and to be like, here's the check, go make the thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
like on it.
We've been talking about it too, and I know it's been a talking point for a while now, but especially with a lot of films in Hollywood in particular, when you got a lot of cooks in the kitchen, a lot of producers, everyone has their own opinion and their own agenda, and before you know it, the director is no longer the head honcho in charge of this project. There's a million different voices and things getting pulled out from, every which way, and by the end of it, the film suffers because of it. And so, like Kyle was saying, we were just so glad and really appreciated how much they trusted us, and it was a really, really great partnership. We hope to be working with them again sooner rather than later. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're going through like an indie horror renaissance right now with y'all's movie and Obsession. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I haven't seen Backrooms yet. But I
I
looked it
haven't.
up. Oh, yeah, sorry.
No,
We're
no,
right
I'm
there with
sorry.
you.
I was gonna say, yeah, I haven't been able to see Obsession or Backrooms yet. We just don't get to the theaters much with a baby in the house. But
Yeah.
I am super pumped for Obsession to come out next week and check it out and be able to like actually engage with
And
everyone about
participate.
it. Yeah, because I feel
Yeah.
like I've been left behind a little bit.
They're gonna have the unrated one come out on streaming because I saw it for Irish Film Critic, but it's just the Reggie theatrical. And even then, I knew it was something special. I was like, I was expecting this to be a throwaway, like slasher or, just a rinky dink. And I was like, that was amazing. And I was like, who were those people? And the actress who gave that performance, like she was totally keyed in. Like I was horrified. So, and then
Oh man.
y'all's project, like, with what I do, review movies, I've been seeing so many indie horror hits. Y'all have a 9.1 on IMDb right now. So, how does that feel?
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Honestly, I try not to look at it too often because I feel like I'll just keep refreshing the page. But it's very nice to see that.
We went through the ringer with ZombieCon with reviews, and we were so lucky with ZombieCon. The amount of love and support that film garnered from every corner of the internet. From, like you were saying, there's the horror communities, there's the anime communities, there's in general film review, indie film review communities, Rotten Tomato critics. Um, but at the same time, of course, not every review is going to be glowing, and so you got to just make sure and keep, like Kyle said, kind of a calm, sturdy. Oh, it's nice when they come in and they're great, but it has been almost unnervingly amazing. The reviews on Autonomous have just been, everyone has been really supportive and really excited about it. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, I think it's really relevant because the Gomo, the movie's version of Waymos, that's kind of a fear that people have. The AI driven cars going crazy and, you know, who's really controlling this car must be something people think a lot about. I'm glad
Yeah,
I just have my own, I just bought a new truck. I have my own ride. I don't want anybody else driving for me.
right. Yeah, no, no, thank you. I think I'll leave that to myself. I don't even trust her to drive me. I'm usually the one who drives, unless I've drank too much at lunch. Then she could drive
I
me
don't
home.
mind being a passenger princess either.
Yeah.
It's a rough life. But yeah, it's this project really capitalizes so much the premise upon, AI entering into our lives in some ways that feel okay and fine and natural, almost like it was almost there, in some ways that when it does, like with driverless vehicles everywhere, whether you're in it or you're right driving right next to one and you're wondering, oh my God, is something going to go wrong with it? It's a valid fear, and it's a valid, with a new thing like that entering society. And it's cool that it mashes up with the way that this project is presented, being in a vertical format, which is also kind of a new thing for premiere horror, for premiere film projects. So it's a really exciting time, and
Yeah,
I'm
you're
excited that this is
innovating
what
on
we
a
came up
bunch of
with.
fronts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exciting.
that's really cool. Well, thank you guys for coming and letting me interview you again, and I hope to interview y'all for your next project.
Oh,
How are
absolutely.
the sequels for ZombieCon coming? Are you still working on those?
Yep, they're still happening. We got a little bit sidetracked with this project. We've got another film called It's Watching that's like nearly done, so that'll be coming out. I hopefully, well, it'll be coming out very much, very, very soon. I don't know if it'll be like the next 2 months, maybe. So we'll see how fast I can get the rest of post production done. We've got a couple other projects, and ZombieCon 2. We've continued to work on all the pre production steps and getting things in line for it. So fingers crossed we can like officially get started before the end of the year. But worst case scenario, maybe beginning of next year. It just kind of depends on how the other projects play out. And ultimately, at this point, we're waiting to see how much money we can get together in order to make it, because we really want to make it huge. And we'll, of course, can tone back the script if we have to. But we're like secretly hoping that one angel investor will come in and be like, we'll give you the budget for the 10,000 zombie fight versus the army of humans. So
Wow, it sounds like the sequel is going to be ambitious.
yeah, I wrote it with no budget in mind. So, like with the ZombieCon one, I definitely was like aware of a budget. And with that one, I was like, well, if we ever get to a chance to make it, I want to just write something that I'm like totally enthralled by and not have to worry about, well, how much does this cost? How much does that cost? So I might have gotten a little bit carried away with what will be possible. So we'll see how it works out.
He's a huge Warhammer 40,000 fan, and
Oh
I feel
yeah.
like as well, this was right around the time where you were going back over for like the sixth time all the audiobooks, and I
Yeah.
feel like that was definitely infiltrating your mind with, well, yeah, of course. So what if it's an indie film sequel? We can have a couple ginormous battle sequences with
Yeah, we have a
Oh
whole
yeah.
20,000
city.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not 20,000. There aren't that many
yeah,
survivors,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
it's
I was talking zombies and
Oh
survivors.
yeah, well you got to have 20,000
Mm,
zombies.
That
So,
yeah.
kind
right,
of
it's just
reminds me of The Matrix Reloaded when he fights 100 Agent Smiths.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. Except with a lot more blood in this one.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
if it's a ZombieCon project, it's always going to have a lot more blood.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah. It would be awesome. We'd have I can just see it right now, right? Cannons of blood all around the actors just firing off at random
You thought the
times.
first one was big, forget about it. Now it's just seas of blood.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. All right. Well, thanks you guys for coming on.
Thank you, Patrick. Looking forward to the next one. Appreciate you
Thank you
having
Yeah.
so much
us.
for
Yeah.
having us. Great talking to you.
Great talking to you. This is Patrick with Pop Culture Kick.